Travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the advice,
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
the comebacks,
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer.
and the technology.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Can you say stuck in the 80s?
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's your host, Steve Spears.
And Brad and Cozumel.
And Jen with one N.
Hey, and we're actually here at sea for the, what is it, day 3 of the 80s cruise.
Yeah, one, two,
One,
yeah,
two,
three. Yeah, three.
A 1, a 2, a 3.
A 3-day cruise.
It's our first podcast from aboard the Celebrity Infinity. We are, as Brad indicated, docked outside of Cozumel, Mexico. And we have lots to catch you up on.
We're chilling here in the elevator lobby next to the video games.
Right, you can hear Qbert in the
Am I
background.
painting a picture for you folks at home? Steve is resplendent in purple.
He's had 12 coffees today. He's feeling great, so much so that he's talking about himself in the third person. So let's catch everyone up. Okay, so it is Monday here on the 80s cruise. We boarded on Saturday in Fort Lauderdale. We automatically were transported to a VIP lounge for a succulent lunch. Can I say succulent on the podcast?
I think you just did.
We don't have to bleep that?
No. Well, I could just to make the podcast more interesting.
So here's the surreal thing. So this is the first year that we got let on the ship early because we were finally considered to be...
Air quotes.
Talent.
It's the T word I hate to say.
It's a stretch, let's face it. But, you know, if someone calls you a god, you say, yes.
So we're on the ship. It's like 10:30. Lunch is served at 11. What time do Brad and Brad's love... What time do Brad and Katie want to have lunch? 12:45.
Yeah, as
Poor
late as
Spearsy
possible.
was dying. So
late as possible.
So we're ushered into this private dining room, and literally every artist and band who is performing on the ship this week is sitting down, having lunch, and they all stare up at us like
we walk in and every head turns. That's right.
It was like a bad 80s
We're
movie.
here.
It's a bad 80s movie in the makings.
The club sandwich was small.
So fast forward to the less awkward and self-congratulatory parts. The first night, I would say, highlighted by English Beat doing a late-night show.
Yes.
But we begin the cruise with a show by Starship. Did anyone here go to Starship?
I did not. Bradley?
I did go to Starship because I am a dutiful ticket holder and will go to every concert on my schedule, minus the cutting crew for obvious reasons. And they hit their spots. It was funny because I was sitting with Drew and his wife Amy, and we were cracking ourselves up in the balcony yelling for White Rabbit. And then they did White Rabbit.
They always do.
We
So
didn't know that.
Drew, for lack of a better term, is just Drew, our
Yes.
frequent co-host. He's
That's
here.
true. That's Drew.
So Starship plays. Now, people who remember the first 80s cruise, remember Starship opened that. Jen was here for that one. Jen, did you see Starship on the first cruise?
I guess I've never seen Starship.
And that was the short tenure of Jen with one N as a podcast co-host. We wish her well.
So the interesting thing about the Starship set was they closed with not their biggest hit, somebody else's biggest hit.
Do you say, what was it?
They closed with Don't Stop Believin'.
Are you me? Can I say that on the podcast?
You can. Mickey
Spillane.
the hard-boiled detective
Thomas.
singer.
Mickey Thomas.
Mickey Thomas told a brief story about performing that for a collection of Journey cover songs that they did. And so he's like, so we're going to do it. And, of course, the crowd went crazy. He missed an opportunity, if you ask me, to change one lyric to Some Will Win, Some Will Lose, Some Go on the 80s Cruise. I mean, that would have been good.
That would have been excellent. I will say that it's day 3 of the cruise, and I've only heard that song 49, 50-ish times.
Yeah, the common areas are a little saturated. I think it's in the carpet by now.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then that night at 11, this is the first night, mind you, at 11:30 was the English Beat, and I was just proud of myself for staying up.
Seriously, no
Yeah.
rest for the weary.
But it was, I didn't regret 1 second of it because it was amazing. It was Dave Wakeling. Everyone was smiling on the stage and off of the stage. People were pogoing everywhere. It was so fun.
So we were sitting a little bit behind you guys, and I didn't know that you were in the theater, and I'm kind of looking around, and you say pogoing because that's how I found you. I'm like, there's Jen. Oh my God, that's Steve Spearsy's out of his cabin. I'm so proud of him.
That's crazy. Now, you know that the English Beat was one of the shows that I had to go on.
And yet, I know your Karate Man style.
But you're right about Jen. She was right next to me, literally an animated cartoon character. Even Lucy, her BFF, who was sitting right next to us and who's watching us very patiently with a courtesy grin on her face right now, did not attempt to keep up with Jen's dancing, which you did for the entire show, I think.
Listen, I tried to sit down. I was like, lady, it's midnight. You're tired. Sit, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. They were too much fun, and the skanking was too. I couldn't. It was impossible. And what's so exciting is I think they're performing later this week again by the pool. That's heaven.
That's going to be amazing. But people will be passing out from the heat, from the alcohol consumption, which has been copious on this trip.
Yes.
Not by me. I have had more coffee than I've had booze.
You're the model of temperance, Steve Spears.
It'll disappear.
You're bringing the room down with all this sobriety.
I am. Well, no, but it's like a different kind of weirdness going on in my brain. It's still all the crying. That's all still there, but it just...
Can vouch.
I don't fall asleep quite as early. So anyway, let's fast forward to day 2, which was yesterday. Yesterday was like the big day. We had to do our first trivia session, and then we had
with a guest,
Claudia Wells, and then after that we had to do the 500th podcast taping with the MTV VJs.
We had to do it.
They twisted our arm.
They marched us around.
But before we get to that, we got to go back to the trivia session.
Yes, we do.
This is the point where Brad starts to cringe a little bit.
I'm going to step back for a moment because I think other people should describe this.
Cast your mind back. It was a crisp spring morning at 11:30, and we're all set to do it. Jen has bags of swag to give away for Let's Make a Deal, which is a new thing we're doing. Claudia Wells from Back to the Future is sitting in her guest of honor spot. Where we start the show, Brad goes to the first question, which is, listen to the following song and tell us what TV show it's from in the 80s. And we wait. And we wait.
Wait a little more.
And we wait a little bit more until we find out that it's not working. The audio is not working for our setup. Brad's wiping away a tear or a yawn right now. I can't tell the difference.
I won't go into the bloody details unless you really want to know. Listen to my other podcast, Technology Fiascos Today. But basically, we had a little setup trouble. That's the shortest possible version. And so I sat there and tried to figure it out while...
It took 20 minutes, I think. 20, 25 minutes?
It was 20 minutes minimum, yeah.
So Jen is the hero of the day. She's up there. She's taking audience questions for Claudia Wells.
Oh, you guys, it was a dream come true. I was like Donahue. I was like on my knee, pointing the mic at it was a fantasy come true.
Good.
I loved it. Brad, not so much. I sabotaged. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Turned out.
My bad. You realize no one can hear you because you don't have a mic.
No, but the thing was, nobody left. Like, Claudia told some great stories about how she was on Fame and had her first kiss on Fame. I mean, it was really fun. And people hung out. And finally, AV Squad came through, and it worked out, and we moved forward. It was awesome.
But she was a great guest, and it was a big crowd. And I think I joked that it was the closest I've come to a date in 3 years because there was something going on between me and Claudia. It might have been completely faked and forced on her part, but I'm okay with that.
She was putting it out for the room, Steve.
Well,
but you were in the room.
I was closest to her in the room. Anyway, so that was a fantastic experience. We got through it. We have another trivia session here in a few hours, so Jen's going to go back to Brad's cabin right now and take care of some technical issues. Brad, why don't you tell a story of what it was like later on that afternoon with our MTV heroes?
I'd have to start with surreal. I mean, we know these people from their faces and their voices. You hear them, even now, you hear them on the radio.
So we're in the green room, like you said, and here comes Alan, here comes Nina, and then finally Mark comes in. And it's just this surreal moment where we're looking around at each other, and we're like, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, no, thank you for having us. I'm like, they're being polite to us, Steve. This is so weird.
And like, thank you for doing this show. Thank you for helping keep the 80s alive. And we're like, you're welcome, Mark Goodman.
Of MTV fame. Nina and I talked a little bit about classic cars.
Yeah. And then we go out, we take the stage, and we introduce them, and we had 45 minutes of us asking, I think, 6 or 7 questions, and them talking for over each other for the next 45 minutes. But it was fun.
Just wind them up and watch them go. I mean, literally, we would ask them a question, and then the conversation. They would just start talking, and they would talk about whatever they wanted, and it was fine. It was fine.
It was awesome, okay? I was sitting in the audience, and it was a great conversation, and I'm really looking forward to hearing it as a podcast, and my prediction is it's going to be one of the most downloaded podcasts in the moving forward into the future, because it's just good. It's just good because they really they went down memory lane a little bit, but they also sort of talked about, what 80s music means now, and some artists who are, who they think are still relevant. I mean, there's a lot happening in that. You guys were like on the stage, but from the audience, there was a lot happening. It was really interesting and funny too, I have to say.
So let's fast forward to what's left in the week here. So it's Monday night. Tonight we have Kenny Loggins performing. It's Top Gun versus Caddyshack night.
Don't fight it, Spearsy.
Tomorrow's the night we help interview
Tomorrow
the Fix.
Yes. We'll be talking to Cy and the posse.
The Fix we saw last night, and they were amazing.
They sounded fantastic. They did not have the presence, perhaps, of some of the bands. They were not quite as animated on stage as some people, but they sounded great. They just hit their spots. So we're going to do that. We will be doing a joint interview with Nina Blackwood with the Fix. We'll have tomorrow is what night? Tuesday night. Tomorrow night is Fat Tuesday. So
I got a story.
Go ahead.
So tomorrow's Fat Tuesday. There's Grandmaster Flash, one of the godfathers of hip hop, is going to be spinning, and my best friend Lucy, who is also here, like literally sitting right next to me, we got off the ship and hung out in Cozumel for a couple hours. Came back, got our suits on, walking to the pool, and whom should we pass but Grandmaster Flash? And I got very excited, and we took photos with him, and he told us for his trouble we better be at his jam tomorrow, and we're like, okay, you got it. So
it's a deal.
That was very exciting. But I have a question. So you guys have any highlights? Because that was definitely one of mine, was Grandmaster Flash. And I have to say one before you, so I'll give you a minute to think about it as far as highlights. We've only been here a few days, but a highlight for me was yesterday so every year you get a T-shirt, a very cool T-shirt. You cut it up. In fact, this year there was a session with Cutting Crew where you got to do it with them. We just did it in our cabin because
are a cutting crew.
Because we are.
Maybe not the cutting crew,
exactly,
but a cutting crew.
A cutting crew. Jesse's Girl was playing, and I was dancing in the hot tub. Jesse's Girl is playing. You get free drinks for an hour, so I had some free drinks as well. And what should they start playing but the Pointer Sisters? They played I'm So Excited. I'm half drunk on free booze, dancing in the hot tub.
In the middle of the Caribbean.
I thought I was dead. I was like, this is the best moment of my life right now. So you guys should come on this cruise.
We'll tell you about the 2020 lineup in a minute, but Brad, what was your highlight so far? I mean, I know we're only 3 days in, and I'd like to think the best is yet to come, but
honestly, my highlight right now is that I figured out what I went wrong in the first trivia session. It's not going to happen again.
That might be my highlight too. It's like I said before. To me, it was standing in the green room with Alan, Mark, and Nina, and just being like, I cannot believe something has happened, that our lives have made these turns and twists. And that's where we are right now.
Well, okay, that's actually an interesting point. I was sitting up on stage, we're interviewing them, and I'm looking out into the audience, and I'm making eye contact with a guy I've been friends with since I was 13 years old, who I went to high school with, and I'm like, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
For you, Steve, our Spartacus, and you brought me here. But still, even then, how did you get to be Spartacus? I don't know.
I couldn't look in the audience, and I'll tell you this now. I couldn't look in the audience because I didn't want to make eye contact with anybody and have them see what was happening, that I was really starting to lose it up there. Because, I mean, Nina's right there, and she's leaning in, and she's
kind of making asides to you.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is really going down. And I'm like, if I look out there and make contact with anybody, they're going to I'm just going to lose it.
Cue the waterworks.
So that, to me, those two moments. So, see, I told you. Too much caffeine. Anyway, we will be back.
Just about the right amount to me.
We will be back in a couple of days with another update. We're going to try to make some updates on Facebook, but in the meantime, Jen with one N, Brad and Cozumel, Lucy the BFF, and myself, we remain here on the Celebrity Infinity, but hopelessly stuck in the 80s.